Well, yes, you know, the website is interactive in a sense. It has a form where people can fill, and also we have a mailing list if you want to join the Cause for Justice for this. You know, our mom's case is an example, and we say it very clearly that we are doing this as a campaign in order to expose the crimes and also to make other crimes not being committed. But, you know, when you share stories like this, I mean, it's not a story, it's a tragedy that then people, then you can give name and you give like my sister used to say, my mom is not just another number. The problem is we are, you know, every day we watch on the TV 5 Palestinians killed or 5 Israelis killed or 2, you know, people become 10 into numbers. And the human face is lost. And you know, when Simon asked me, I mean, I did not really intend to share my personal story, but since Simon says that I had to share, you know, let's start with this because, you know, and I'm here again. You cannot separate your academic endeavors from your fight for justice as a person, and it becomes real. Now I have 1,000 friends on Facebook. Okay, and just to share with you a very simple story. I went to Canada when I was speaking to her, I just mentioned, and they gave me a visa after 3 weeks of applying, and I was stopped for 4 hours. 4 hours on the in the airport. After 3.5 hours of just like abuse, in a sense, you know, they asked me specifically. I was attending a freedom of speech conference in Canada. A freedom of speech conference, and after 3.5 hours of making me, you know, I just wait, and you know, they asked me specifically, are you going to speak against Israel? Okay, do you have material in your back you're going to distribute against Israel? And so on and so forth. When I went to, you know, are you going to have meetings, you know, and what are you going to speak on the freedom of speech conference? I said, ma'am, I'm going to speak against repression of freedom of speech. Okay? This was a personal experience I've dealt for 4 hours. You know, I was humiliated. I felt naked at the end of this experience. 3 days later, I spoke at Queen's University, and a young reporter came and heard me, and she wrote about it, and she interviewed me. I said, please, if you want to report about this, write. You know, I wake up the next morning, I see, you know, like these quotations. If you want to really report honestly. And she wrote what happened. And this article, you know, she sent it to me, and it was on their website. And actually, I did not share it. A friend of mine picked it up, and she put it on her news website, and now it's shared, and she posted on my face on Facebook, and now it's shared with 1,000 people on my Facebook, and these people, the other day, just yesterday, this woman from Afghanistan, a friend of mine who visited us from Afghanistan, she was a volunteer in Pakistan, she goes, Saad, your story is being shared now in Afghanistan. And this is the power of social media. You know what, I'll give you my Facebook, and you should see the viral effect of this. And when people know about this, they will know about injustice, and we can fight it, you know, through this network.
Okay, so this is just, I think you can have more than 1,000 friends at the end of this. Any more questions from the floor? Just, we've got about 10 minutes left, and what I'd like to focus on, if possible, and you can think while I'm talking, this is around solutions, around finding hope. So any practical observations, questions around solutions in this complex area of conflict and media would be very much appreciated. So please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Joe Zephyrin, and it's interesting you raised the Gaza story because I was the news editor of the website for the national broadcaster in Ireland during the Gaza conflict, and one of the things we faced was our reporter physically couldn't get into Gaza to report what was going on, and it was because they were banned. Most reporters who weren't set up in there were banned. So my question is, in terms of authoritative journalism as opposed to citizen journalism, which is what Peter does and BBC and the organization I used to work for does. How do we, ensure access for authoritative journalism, and how do we define who authoritative journalists and authoritative journalism outlets are going forward? Do we need a certification program? Do we need some practical, formal institution that is saying this is an authoritative news source, this is an advocacy news source, this is a citizen news source?
Crucial point, and thank you for raising it. And, you know, when you say authoritative journalism, I mean, is CNN authoritative journalism, or BBC authoritative journalism, or New York Times authoritative journalism? Sometimes we see reports that are completely misleading. And again, but at the same time, we're not saying that our panacea completely in citizen journalism. We have to discuss this. People just took pictures on their mobiles and stuff and posted on the internet. I mean, sometimes a picture, you know, speaks for more than 1,000 words. I mean, this is cliche, right? But the people wrote on blogs, people wrote, you know, we have to have, to discuss how we can have criteria for total quality management, total quality when it deals with citizen journalism. I mean, this needs to be discussed. I agree with you.
So I'd like to share maybe two practical resources that might answer to this. And it'd be good to hear from each of us a practical website link or resource or organisation that you know of that can help ensure this quality. There's one initiative that I know of that's been launched by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the founder of the World Wide Web, who have partnered with the Media Standards Trust, launching something called Transparency International. One of the issues that we have is things get copied off the web and we don't know who the journalist is. One of the things that this resource will do, it will show the news association, the agency, the ethical code that they are signed up to allow people like you and me to look at a news article, look about the author, look at when it was first edited, look at the code of conduct that they have signed up to, and to be able to report. So this is one. There's another one which is a partnership between the United States Institute for Peace and Georgetown University. And this is a peace media clearinghouse which has many fantastic resources of good practice, and it's peacemedia.usip.org. And this is a clearinghouse that has everything from computer games in the field of non-violent conflict management and many other resources there. Can we please share from the floor some good practice examples for us to share?
I agree absolutely that one of the keys to this is ownership. One of the problems is that there's too much stuff which is floating around which is anonymous, which is unowned. And I know that presents some challenges, particularly in environments with oppressive regimes where the authors of some of this stuff are likely to be targeted. But ultimately someone has to take responsibility for the information. And the more you can tie the information to an individual, the more you can make someone own the stuff, make them responsible for the information and its consequences, then I think we're part of the way there. One of the difficulties is that journalism isn't brain surgery. You don't really need any specific skill to be able to be journalist. You only need to be literate, which makes the whole the question of qualification a very difficult one. And as long anyone who can read and write, anyone who can type can be a journalist, can call themselves a journalist. I don't think the issue of accreditation is a very difficult one. At what point do you draw the line between who is accredited and who is not, who is legitimate and who is not? I'm not arguing against citizen journalism. What I am arguing for is responsible ownership of the information. I think that is a key part of this.